Welcome, everyone. Hi, welcome. So happy that you are here with us today. My name is Angela, and today we'll be talking about exploring majors and minors, and careers. Um, Hi, welcome. And I'll be clarifying some things about majors, declaring your major, and tying that to exploring different careers. And while I'm doing that, you will be trying to reflect on the things that you might already know about your future and also thinking about what you might still want to explore for your future. So that is the goal for today, or one of them at least. So I am a core facilitator. I do these workshops twice every 5 weeks. I work with your Let's Get Ready coaches. So to support your journey to college through Let's Get Ready. We have a moderator today, Adeline. So she will be taking attendance. Um, she might be asking for your name for attendance. She'll be helping me put links into the chat, etc., etc. The general goal for today is to talk about some steps you can take to get ready for making the most of your time in college and also now to prepare for college. We're going to start by addressing some common student concerns about college and finish with a brief introduction to the personal narrative of your college application. So that's today's workshop. Very briefly, this is a little bit about me. I'm Angela, again, your course facilitator. I grew up low income on Staten Island as a first generation student. I am a sophomore attending Barnard College, Columbia University. I'm studying biochemistry with a women's gender sexuality minor. I'm on the pre-dental track, which is very much similar to the other pre-health tracks. What else? I am a Dell and National Science Foundation's scholarship recipient. And a fun fact about me is I used to want to become a fashion designer, and now I want to be a dentist. So very big change there. And we'll be discussing that furthermore today, not just about me, but about change in general. And also, I'm going to pop my email into the chat as I like to do in case any of you guys want to email me. Agnes, did you have a question?
No, sorry.
No, you're good, you're good. Okay, perfect. So that's a little about me. Um, so today we have a $10 raffle card that you can win. It is a Tango gift card that you can win. So you can spend it at a bunch of different places. You can earn up to 3 raffle tickets today, depending on how many of the following things you do listed here on the slide. And there will be plenty of opportunities for you to do these things. The winner will be announced after the workshop ends via email or text. And also, you can get 1 point towards our annual grand prize raffle for every workshop that you attend, simply for attending, and there will be 3 winners of our grand prize raffle, and the largest prize will be $100. So very cool. You get to just attend these workshops and enter. Okay, so we will now begin. So the first section that we're going to explore is about some common myths that students believe when thinking about their future, specifically about their major and what careers they are going to pursue in the future. So myth number 1 is that you need to know your major now. And a lot of people and students think this, that they have to know their majors before entering college, which you don't have to do. And you definitely don't have to hold that burden right now, at the ripe age of 17, 18. So you'll have plenty of time to explore your major, either from now to like basically the end of your, not end, but like second year of college, you'll have plenty of time to explore what you want to do and study. And a good way of exploring is usually through taking core requirement classes, which are very diverse in subject. And you usually take these classes during your first 2 years of college. Generally because these classes are kind of like general education classes where students are required to take them in order to graduate. And this is the case of most colleges. Um, now is also an important time to explore your interests, to either confirm that you have the right major in mind, or to help you brainstorm like what you would want to be studying in college. So we'll talk more about what it means to declare a major later on and when to do it, et cetera, et cetera. Perfect. Myth number 2 is many students think they need to have studied something that connects to the career that they want to do or to go into. But your resume will be made up of so much more than just what you study and what you major in college. And there will almost always be some sort of connection between the skills you gain from studying a particular subject and a career you want to go into, even if it might not seem like that on surface level. And an example of this is a biology major, for example, can pursue a career in, let's say, business. And you might not like think that at first, but in studying biology, you learn a lot of analytical skills through your classes that can be applied to making things like business decisions. So definitely you do not have to study a particular major in order to go into a specific field of like a career field. However, exceptions to this are usually technical degrees like nursing or engineering, where it's more strict on what you can major in. And we'll talk a bit more about that later on, but in most fields, it doesn't have to be so strict or straightforward. Regardless, having a college degree and being able to explore the many things that the many classes that you are taking in college will open up so many doors and opportunities for you. So it's okay if you decide that you need more time to decide on what you want to do in the future. Perfect. So don't answer this question just yet. We are doing an activity where you will answer this question. What percentage of college students do you think change their majors at least once? You're going to type it in. Don't enter yet. I'm going to count down from 10, and on 1, everyone should press enter so that all the responses can come through at the same time. And the activity is called a chat waterfall, so it's supposed to have that effect. So think about this question. I will start counting now. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, enter. Okay, perfect. Okay, so we have a large variety of answers. When I answered this, I thought it was way more than the actual answer. So we have answers ranging from like the 30s to the 90s. I guessed more towards the 90% percentile. So according to the National Center for Educational Statistics, the answer is actually 50%. So 50% of college students typically change their major at least once in college. And I didn't know that. I think I guessed somewhere like 92%. But yeah, it's 50%. So that is still a very large number of, if you think about it, college students that are changing their majors at least once. And I guess a higher percentage because most of my peers at college have changed their minds at least once about what they want to study or do. And I myself have changed my major and even added a minor just for fun. So definitely a lot of changes are happening in college, and the way that I see it, changing your mind about these things usually means that you are actually learning more about yourself. Because at the end of the day, you can only change your mind after you have explored more things and realize something makes you happier or more excited than another. And that's actually a really good thing, because we want to find things that we are passionate about and are happy doing. So after your second year, changing your major is still possible, but it might require you to maybe like stay in undergrad for longer in order to finish the classes that you need to take for that degree, before graduating, since you probably weren't actively taking them during your first 2 years. Um, so it's still possible, but you might just have to stay in school for a little longer. And in general, a lot of students change their majors in college. So like don't be too scared about it, but like also keep it in like around in the back of your head whenever you can. Okay. So that was some brief like myth busting. Um, Perfect. So now we are just going to talk about how college is a time for self-discovery and growth, and how many people feel like it was one of like, wait, what? Sorry, I'm like messing up my notes. We just talked about how college is a time for self-discovery and growth, and why many people feel like it's such a good time to like explore that. And now we're going to continue on to discussing ROI, which is return on investment. Um, and even if you can go to school for free, going to college is still going to be an investment of things like time and energy. And usually it is also a financial investment. So in this section, we're going to talk more about how to maximize what you get back from that investment. So what is return on investment? Can I please have a student read this definition on the slide? Yes, Agnes.
It's Agnes. A
Agnes,
calculation
sorry.
of the monetary value of an investment versus cost.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So here we are defining a financial investment, but to be clear, value and costs aren't only monetary, but many people, like myself, included, think about ROI and investment financially. So, switch this. But how you do look at ROI will depend on your priorities and your personal priorities. But for now, we will lean into looking at the financial side of things to begin the section. Okay, so maximizing earning potential. If we follow through on thinking about our ROI in terms of making as much money as possible, here are just some of the ways to set yourself up for success, and they're listed on the slide. So you can consider how easy or difficult it is to find a job in a specific field, which gives you an idea of the job security side of things after graduating. But this can often depend on location. For example, in New York City, finance jobs are plentiful and always growing. Therefore, it's often a career path that students studying in New York City will consider, and a lot of students will graduate pursuing. Um, but regardless of pay, you should always consider careers that align with your strengths and your interests. So it's not always about like job security or like how much money you're earning. We are still trying to pursue careers that align with our own passions. So, an activity that we are going to do and try to practice the ideas on the slide, you are going to think about and answer what are some careers that you think are high paying, and what are some careers where you think there's a lot of job demand. So think about those, and Adeline had typed them into the chat for you, um, and respond in the chat, or you can unmute if you would like to as well. So we'll take a minute or so for that. So Agnes said pharmacy, lawyers, doctors, and civil engineering, definitely. STEM-related jobs, 1,000%. There are many. So, but STEM-related jobs like medicine, engineering are definitely some of those. Medical STEM jobs. Chiropractor, yes. That is a good one. So these are some examples that students are saying regarding careers that are high paying and also like high in demand. These are great answers. Anyone else with any answers? Okay. You can continue typing them in if you would like to. I'm seeing surgeons, software engineers. Yeah, perfect. So yeah, those are definitely good answers. The ones that I have listed here for high paying jobs are doctors, lawyers, psychiatrists, which a lot of you guys have already mentioned. So typically STEM jobs are very popular, high paying jobs, but they aren't the only high paying jobs out there. They're just like more, I guess, common or known. But there are definitely a lot of high paying jobs and high demand jobs. So the ones that I have listed are nurse, web developer, and teachers. But the answers that you guys have put in the chat are very good as well. So if making a lot of money or having job security are things that are very important to you, then these may be important things to look out for and keep in the back of your head. Perfect. So here are some other important ways to think about return on investment based on the other investments people make during college. So you will be investing time, since you'll probably be very busy during college. And I myself have been investing a lot of time into school since it is midterms week and just in general. So definitely keep in mind that you are investing time along with energy. So you're investing energy in your grades, extracurriculars. Yeah, no problem. Welcome. The slides are also recorded, so if any of you guys missed anything that I've said, you could always refer back. And the slides will be texted out on Friday. Okay, so you're also investing time and energy in your grades, extracurriculars, networking events, etc., etc. But these can also be fun things. So just because they're an investment doesn't necessarily mean that you will be miserable doing it. Typically, students have fun doing extracurricular activities, networking, maybe even like studying, depending on who you are as a person. But definitely does not have to feel miserable, even though it is an investment. But at the end of the day, these things are still investments that you are making in college, and investments you probably want to get the most out of. So how can we do that? How do we get the most out of our investments in college? Well, here are 3 other ways to maximize your investments in college. So there will be a poll that is going to go up very shortly that asks you, there it goes, between the 3 things listed here and the 2 that we talked about earlier, meaning aim for high paying job and aiming for job security in a field that is growing. What are your priorities when you think about how you want to get the most out of college? So we will take a few minutes for that. The options are minimizing costs and loans, aiming for a high paying job, aiming for job security, building a strong resume and network, and getting mentally prepared to complete college. Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of people voting on aiming for high paying jobs and minimizing costs and loans. So, very important things. I think if I were to answer this poll as well, I would also include those two in my answer. Especially in this economy, guys. Very important to think about cost and loan, high paying job, but also the answers are very split, very divided, very like even ground today. So very diverse answers, aiming for high paying job security. Yeah. So thank you guys for answering. I think you all have answered. Um, so the top two are minimizing cost and loan, and again, aiming for high paying job. What is the other one? We have a tie between aiming for job security in a field that's growing and building a strong resume. Yeah. So we are definitely going to talk about all of these, well, the three that we haven't talked about yet, and in the next few slides. And one of them is going to be about building a strong resume and network. So stay tuned for that. And I think the next section we're going to talk about minimizing costs and loans. So it's great that you guys are keeping these in mind and thinking about these. I will end the poll. So these are the results. I think you guys can see it. And yeah, so we'll now talk about the three things listed here during the next few slides, not three slides. Perfect. Okay, I think now you guys can see the results. Perfect. Mm, Okay, so one important way to think about maximizing ROI is spending less money. And you've probably heard a lot of people talk about things like college loans. And it's definitely important to be strategic about how much in loans you have to take out for in college. College loans are like a little scary, guys, because like if you have to be smart when you're taking them out because there's interest. So you should aim to take out as least the least amount of college loans that you can. And it's just good to think about minimizing costs in general for college, especially when you are trying to get the most out of your investments. So a big way to do that is to minimize the cost of college, and some strategies for doing that are going to be things like going to community or state colleges, applying for schools with good financial aid, and basically applying to as many scholarships as you can. But that being said, I wanted to point out that you can definitely still minimize costs and loans while attending a private college if they have things like good financial aid or scholarships. And one of the reasons why I chose to go to Barnard despite being a low income student and despite their high sticker price is because they offered me a really good financial aid package. So definitely consider those things, and I'd encourage you to do your research on different colleges, even if they are private schools, if you like those. If you like those schools that do just happen to be private schools, because there are many ways that you can still attend a private college for a reasonable price. So definitely refer back to the slide when you are deciding things about finances for college as well. And when you leave college, employers won't just be hiring you for your major or your school alone. They are hiring you for the other experiences that you've gained while in college as well. So some ways to build your resume are doing things like internships, research, and maybe taking on leadership roles on campus. And on the point of research, many students think that they're only for science majors for some reason, which I think there's like just a common like acceptance that research equals science, but there's actually research being done in so many fields. So, for example, my roommate is studying economics, and she is doing research under her economics professor. So there's definitely a lot more research going on in different fields that you might not be expecting. So definitely go into those and try to explore them in order to build your resume and network. And doing things like research with a professor can also help you network in college. And networking helps you basically connect with potential employers and learn about job openings both while you're in college and after you've graduated as well. But a lot of students and people think that you have to be like very extroverted or come from money in order to have a strong network. And while that is like basically it's not true, but it does give you like an unfair advantage if you do come from money or if you are very extroverted. While that is true in some ways, there are so many ways to approach building a strong network even without those things. And college creates some of the most like the best opportunities in order to do this. So it's really just about getting to know people, making genuine connections, and staying in contact in order to build a network. And networking is also about growing your support system in general and the number of people who wants to see you succeed. So it's not as scary as like it might sound or as people try to make it sound. It's not that complicated. Yeah, so getting ready to finish college. This involves doing things like being happy about where you are and feeling supported by your environment. So by choosing to apply to colleges that you feel truly fit you as a person and along with like your identity is going to be such an important step in being able to finish college. And being able to attend a college that won't cause you financial stress will also be a very good and important way to increase your chances of being able to get through college. So, I have another question for you all. What is something that would make you thrive while in school and support you in finishing college? So there will be a variety of different answers for this. This is mainly asking for your personal priorities and yeah, priorities like what you find most important. Um, so think about that and feel free to type it in the chat as well. Your answer, welcome. So what is one thing that will make a college feel like a place where you can thrive? Some ideas for this are going to be things like, I personally would think about my identity. A lot of students look for things that align with their identity, like having a safe space for expressing their sexuality, where schools have things like LGBTQ plus clubs, a diverse student body. That was also something that was important to me. So I'm seeing some answers come in. Having a strong community that can support me through hard times. Yes, support systems are very important for students to have a higher chance of graduating. So it's good to keep those in mind. Try to look for schools with supportive teachers, professors, and friends, safe environments. Mental health is a very big thing, yes. I was also, those are one of that was one of the things that I thought about as well. My school is very big on mental health, and they have a separate program to promote student wellness. So if that is an important thing to you, which it definitely is for a lot of people, look into those. Having those around me I can rely on. Yeah. So a lot of students are saying things about like support systems, which are very, very important in order to increase your chances of finishing college. So those are great answers. And before we move on to break, which I think is next, okay, before we move on to break, I want to be clear that you definitely don't have to do all of the things that we just went through. I threw a lot of things at you. So instead, I want you guys to just focus on a few of these and work hard to make those your priority while thinking about and going through college as well. So that being said, we are going into a 5-minute break. So feel free to do things like getting water, getting a little snack, and we will come back. When we come back, we'll talk about how to get clear on your major and career paths. So that was our little 5-minute break. I hope most people are back now, but we will now move on with the rest of the workshop. So we have spoken and talked about the many ways that you can make the most out of your time in college and how to set yourself up for success after graduating college, in the future as well. Oops. And now we will turn our attention towards how you can move forward, whether or not you have decided on a future major or career. So as we've discussed and kind of briefly mentioned before, there are a few careers that do require a certain degree. So if any of those interest you, like a career that requires a specific degree, you'll definitely want to consider that point. But the vast majority of careers don't work that way and aren't as specific for majors. So what careers do you think someone with a communications degree could go into, for example? We're going to practice how basically like, again, how you can apply different fields of study to different fields of career fields. So what careers do you think someone with a communications degree could go into? So I'm seeing business, journalists. Communications is definitely, I think, one of the most like applicable degrees. So there are a lot of answers to this. Those are great answers. Business. Educator is a really good one. Social media manager, yes. Journalism, public services. Yeah. So those are definitely, again, very wide range of careers, and these are all very much applicable for a communications major. The answers that I have listed are journalists, which was mentioned, event manager, creative director, speechwriter, and or social media / PR specialists. So those are just some of the careers that people can go into. Yeah, business owner. You can, the skills that you get from a communications major can be applied to a lot of different fields. And that is just an example. So, oops. So now the goal is just to figure out how like you can apply your major to whatever fields that you want to go into. And remember that a major shouldn't narrow your options, but should instead help to focus your interests and your knowledge in one degree. And your degree at the end of the day won't define who you are, but it is your skills and your experience that will help you secure a job after graduating instead. So perfect. Thank you all so much for participating in that. Now let's get into kind of like the nitty-gritties of what it looks like to actually choose and declare a major. So different schools will have different policies on declaring a major. Some will have students actually go directly into a professional or certificate program, which is more commonly seen at like community colleges and trade schools. So it's good to keep those in mind if that is something you are interested in going into. But sometimes, although much more rare, schools also might ask you to declare your major right away as an incoming freshman. And these are often schools with more competitive programs, like certain engineering schools or business colleges, where space in specific majors might be more limited. So that's why they have to like basically enforce that policy on students to declare their major right away as an incoming freshman. And you should be pretty sure that you want to study a specific major if you're applying to one of these. And although it's sometimes possible to get into them later on, as in like these programs and these majors, transferring into these competitive programs will usually be very hard. So there is an advantage there if you are able to like go into these programs right away as an incoming freshman. But again, you have to keep in mind that like you should be pretty sure before you commit to one of these. Yeah, question?
So like you were saying, if you wanted to go into like a specific major, you would have to be in a certain program from your freshman year to like to actually pursue it, if that makes
So
sense.
yeah, I get what you're saying. This like option and topic applies to only specific majors and specific programs. So if you are just trying to, let's say, be a biology major, that is typically something that you don't have to commit to right away as an incoming freshman. What I'm talking about as like you have to commit right away, like your major usually applies to majors like nursing programs, engineering programs. Those are more technical fields and they usually are more like strict. But if you're going into a field other than those, typically you don't have to commit to it right away as an incoming freshman. Did that
Okay.
answer your question?
Yes, it did. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Okay. So, like we just kind of briefly implied, most colleges won't ask you to declare your major until your sophomore year. So, they'll let incoming students actually also apply as undecided if you are undecided and you don't know your major yet. And for these schools, putting a potential major on your application usually isn't binding, and just shows colleges what you're interested in. So, for these schools, which are more common, you apply to like an intended major, which is in binding again. And then during the second half of your sophomore year in college, then you will typically declare your major. So that is the way that most schools go. And let me know if you have any other questions regarding that. I know that it's like kind of a complicated topic. So let me know if you have questions for that. But in this next section, we're going to talk about next steps if you're not sure about what you want to major in and or do professionally. So show of virtual hands, by show of virtual hands, who here has ever felt like they were supposed to know what they are doing with their lives? So I think you could like use the little hand emoji on Zoom. Yeah, a few of you have felt this pressure, and we all have felt that pressure at points. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm seeing a few hands. Thank you for that. It is a very vulnerable topic, so thank you for responding to that. But yeah, we have all basically felt that pressure at points of our lives, and we pretty much all have moments of uncertainty. Um, okay, perfect. So you could like unpress the raise hand thing. I forgot what it's called. But thank you for responding to that. We all have points of uncertainty, and the personal like story that I put here on my notes to share is that growing up, as I mentioned in like the first few like get to know me slide, I wanted to be a fashion designer because my mom really liked my artistic side and she wanted me to go into that career field. But over time, I realized that that wasn't my true passion and what I wanted to do, but rather something that my mom enjoyed. So it took some time for me, some time and effort for me before I found what I was actually interested in, um, and kind of like changed my field of like my path, basically, of life. And it took some time and effort, obviously, to do that and commit to that. But I feel like that point of my life was very important, and it ultimately led me down the path of self-discovery and reflection that was very much necessary and needed. So think about uncertainty as just basically like a reminder that it's now a good time for you to step into kind of maybe like an observation or exploration mode, which is a process that will definitely continue for you as a college student as well. Also, you've been doing some reflection from our past workshops and activities as well. For example, you were prompted to think about your personal motivations at our Why College workshop, which if you're new here, obviously you haven't gone through these, which is okay. But for those of you who have been to these workshops, you've expanded on your back sheet to explore your passions and extracurriculars, etc. The moderator, Adeline, will, yeah, she just put the back sheet, a link to that in the chat. So if that's new to you, definitely sit down with it and try to fill it out if you can. It's a very useful tool for you to explore your passions and what you're interested in. And even if you haven't been to these workshops or done these activities yet, and this is your first time here, maybe to one of these workshops, I'm sure you have been reflecting as well on your own motivations and passions in other day-to-day ways as well. So you've all been already reflecting. And keeping in touch with your Let's Get Ready coaches will also help you continue to do this personal reflection and exploration. So here are a bunch of different ways that you can explore your interests more deeply and figure out which ones you might want to study. Even if you do know what you want to study or do professionally right now, these are still very good ways to confirm that you're on the right path and or explore subgenres of those areas of interest. But if you don't know what you want to study yet, you'll probably want to spend some time with these strategies because there are thousands of schools in the US, and narrowing down your majors of interest can help you search for a good fit school. So on the slide, we have the Princeton Reviews major search tool, and Adeline will put that link into the chat. So take about 3 minutes to explore that link and that tool. And this is a good exercise for everyone to learn more about specifics about your field and majors of interest. So I think what I did last workshop, I went through the website very briefly with you guys, so I'm gonna try to pull that up. Okay, well, let me see if you can. You definitely don't have to look at my slide if you wanted to explore that by yourself. I'm just going to point out some ways to use this tool. So if you have an idea of what you want to, or like some ideas of what you want to major in already, then you can type in your answer or like a field of a major into this search tool. If not, you can also browse by category with these ideas. So for example, let's say I wanted to study psychology and I'm interested in looking into psychology. These are the subcategories and subgenres of psychology that you could look more deeply into. Let's say I wanted to go into educational psychology. What I wanted to point out is the side, like, section here on the right. They have things like sample curriculum, so like examples of classes you might be taking, high school classes that you could like take in order to explore this field. And also they list graduate programs and careers that align with this field of study as well. So that I feel like is a really good tool for you all to look into and explore. So let me see. That is a tool. Look into that for the next like 3 or so minutes. Let me pull up my notes again. Okay. So I think let's take another minute for that and give me a thumbs up emoji if you found something new, if you're done finding like what you wanted to explore. And feel free to type your anything new that you found into the chat as well if you wanted to share that. And I definitely encourage you to look back at this slide for the links on there because I'm only giving you like 3 minutes for this activity. I encourage you to take more than 3 minutes for this tool. No, don't worry. Thank you for the thumbs up. Come back to this slide for the links and continue exploring even outside these 3 minutes that I've given you. So, and if you want to share anything that you found in the chat or unmute, feel free to do that. If not, we'll move on in about like 30 seconds. Didn't know that you can major in military technologies. Yeah, I think that's a very niche field. And I'm glad that you found that. I think that's why like this tool is very interesting because it gives you an opportunity to explore fields and majors that you didn't even know existed. And because if you found like niche subjects and majors in this tool, that's actually a really good way to help you narrow down your college list by searching up things like military technologies major school, and then they will like through your search you can narrow down your college list basically. What investment you have to take should take what? You have to take. Yeah. So someone said that to explore like occupational therapist, you should take physics. And I also didn't know that. So that's a really good thing. That's a really good fact that you found there. Yeah, perfect. So I'm glad that you guys are finding new things through this tool and definitely continue doing that even after this workshop ends. So perfect. Now we will move on to a good strategy in exploring majors and career fields. So I will now play an example of a day in a life video, which I recommend you all doing and watching outside of this workshop as well, but this is just an example of one.
Hello, my name is Jeremiah and I'm a first year at Quinnipiac. Starting my day, I wake up at 7 o'clock and get ready to head to the College of Arts and Sciences for my biostatistics class, learning classical methods with Professor Rothman. Then I head to Tater Hall for some chemistry with Professor Harper, learning about molality. During my hour break, I head to Cafe Q to get some food and then the library to study. My next class at Tater Hall is Chem Lab with Professor Madison doing a titration lab. I get in a good workout at the rec center, I grab some food, and then headed back to my dorm for a first year event. I go to the dance studio for a Black Student Union dance rehearsal, then it's off with my friends to rehearsal with the Q Legend, which is the only a cappella group on campus. Then I call it a day.
Yeah, so that is one example of a not let's get ready. I made that mistake last workshop too, I don't know why. A day in a life video. And again, I really encourage you to spend some time looking at different day in a life videos on your own time. So what do you do if you do know what you want to do in your future? If you feel like you already know what you want to study, but aren't too sure about what major you might want to pursue, you can look up different fields someone with that major goes into. And this will show you careers that usually align a lot with your academic interests, which is helpful when you aren't very sure on what job you want to pursue after graduating with a certain degree. But as a reminder, while your major and academic interests can influence what career you go into, it doesn't necessarily decide it. So it could be a good guidance point by, like, for example, searching up common fields that a biology major goes into. That doesn't need to be like your one and all answer. It is just a good tool for you to come up with ideas. Also, you'll want to make sure that you actually want to study this major by exploring the classes and subjects, and what subjects align with your strengths, and also by watching things like day in a life videos. And again, the Princeton Reviews major tool, major search tool thing will be very important for you to explore your major and possible careers as well. So definitely refer back to that. But on the other hand, you might know what you want to do as a job, but not necessarily what you want to study during college. So similarly, to help you brainstorm this, you can search up things like top majors for blank. So top majors for being a dentist, or requirements for being a dentist. So for example, careers that require you to attend a professional school after graduation, such as law, medical, and dental school. These careers will also have specific required classes that you have to take during undergrad. So let's say you wanted to go into medical school. There's a list of prerequisite courses that you have to take in order to apply to and go to medical school. So the example that I have here is, let's say you wanted to become a dentist, for example. You would first have to take prerequisite classes such as calculus, biology, chemistry, physics. Then you would need to take a standardized test called the DAT before applying to dental schools. Taking all of this into consideration, you might end up deciding that you want to pursue a science major, given all of the science courses that you're basically already forced and required to take in order to apply to, let's say, dental school. So thinking about these things now, especially if you're someone who's interested in going into law, medicine, or dentistry, will be helpful to avoiding burnout once you're in college. And also because while you're in college, you're also trying to balance a bunch of things at once. So thinking about these things in advance will definitely help you in the long run. Okay, can I have another volunteer read the quote on this slide? Yes, Sarah.
College is a time of exploration and getting to know more about yourself. Start refining your interests now through the first 2 years of college, and you'll come out with lots of clarity.
Yeah, thank you so much. Again, you still have so much time you still have so much time to decide on what you want to do for the rest of your life. You don't have to decide on it right now. And the best thing you can do now is to try to explore as much as you can and learn more about your interests and passions little by little, bit by bit. So that's basically like my interpretation of this quote, and a very good advice. So we've just talked about many ideas for how you can move forward in exploring. Ooh, I keep bumping into things. How you can move forward in exploring, deciding upon, or confirming the majors and careers that interest you. And now we're going to talk a bit about how you might want to share about that, how you want to share like your interests, your passions, along with other elements of who you are through your personal statement and in other elements of your college application. So what exactly is a personal narrative? A personal narrative is basically an essay where you can write about practically anything in. The point of it is to show colleges who you are as a person outside of your grades and extracurriculars. And it's also just a very good opportunity for you to characterize and tell a story about your entire application, like kind of narrate it in your own story and in this essay. And the personal narrative was my favorite part of my application and my like process in completing it, because it's very similar to kind of like the way I saw it. It was very similar to making an art, as in you have like full control over what to share and how to portray yourself in it. And I feel like a common misconception about the personal narrative is that you should and like kind of have to trauma dump as much as you can in it, which is not true. And I feel like a lot of students are under that impression that you have to do this. But like art, there are so many other ways that you can mold your personal narrative to tell a story about yourself other than just like plain out trauma dumping in it. For example, I personally took on the sharing what makes you feel empowered aspect in my essay by sharing a story about the pencils my mom would sharpen for me using a kitchen knife and connecting it to how I learned to appreciate those pencils despite their rigidness, because I eventually realized that their odd shapes were what made them such sturdy pencils. And I kind of paralleled that by by telling them this story in my personal narrative of like the pencils and how they looked weird, but they were still like very strong. I like tried to parallel that with my identity as a first generation student. And by doing that, I was able to convey to colleges a message about myself that I wanted them to like see through my college application. I wanted them to see like this aspect of my perseverance, um, and how this story kind of molded me as a person. And I wanted to tell them a story that I felt empowered by, which this was an example of one. So I'd encourage you to explore the many different ways that you can shape your own personal narrative by thinking about things that make you feel empowered or stories that share an aspect of you that you want to show these colleges in your application. So, oh, I have a question. What is a first generation student? A first generation student, I think there's many, like there's a few definitions now, but the like standard answer for what a first generation student is a student whose parents didn't attend college. So my parents didn't go to college. Therefore, I'm first generation because I'm the first generation in my family to attend college. That's basically what a first-gen student is. Good question. So considering the things on this slide, along with the rack sheet that you've brainstormed with before, what? So looking at like these points on this slide and using the brag sheet, will help you to start forming your own narrative bit by bit. So definitely refer to this, and again, try to sit down with your brag sheet to kind of like brainstorm your narrative. And if you haven't done the brag sheet, it's something I suggest doing after this workshop, especially if this whole process of writing a personal narrative feels intimidating to you. So I think one of our last activities, yes. So this is the last activity of this workshop. Take about 4 minutes and do your best to write out 4 to 6 bullet points on what you want the theme of your narrative to be. And this will likely change and evolve as you continue to prepare for college applications, but it's a good opportunity to kind of give yourself a starting point to build on. Yeah, so you could definitely share some of your points in the chat as well. So I see someone write about being a first generation student, which I feel like was also a really big theme in my application. So I very much, what's the word? I can't think of the word, but yeah, I wrote about that in my application. And remember that you are able to decide on what you want to share about yourself and your life in your application. So you kind of get to like pick and choose what you want to do and what you want to show, which I think is really cool. Like that's the fun part of the application. Yeah, the activity is reflecting on like what the main themes of your narrative is. So you want to brainstorm about what you might want to write about in your narrative. So what other answers? Pressure to go to college because people tell me to. Yeah, I think that's a very good we discussed that was like one of the themes in our last like 2 workshops. So if that's something that you are struggling with, like external pressures, and if you need any advice on that, you can definitely reach out to your coach. You can reach out to me. But we also did a workshop that spoke largely about that topic. And if that would be kind of helpful to you, definitely reach out and we could probably send you the recording and slide deck to that workshop. But that is also definitely something that you can write about in your essay if you would like to. Hardships, self-love, inspiration, and culture. Yeah, that's great. That's a great thing to always like. It definitely like adds color to your application when you talk about things like culture. And what you have overcome. Yeah. No, guys, these are really good answers, and I think they would make really good personal narratives as well. And if you need any help with building on these ideas or even coming up with them, it's very normal to get help while brainstorming and writing your personal narrative. So don't be afraid to reach out to either me, your Let's Get Ready coach, maybe even a school counselor or mentor, reaching out for help for any help that you may need while doing this activity or writing your personal narrative. And yeah, it's just like so normal. I personally had so many people read and edit my essay before I fully felt confident enough to submit it in my application. So this is definitely not at all like a very easy task, and it's going to take a lot of thought, a lot of effort, and a lot of editing. So this is a very good point though to begin with just like bullet points and ideas. So yes, do let me know if any of you guys would like any help with doing this, and I would be so happy to set up a meeting with you. Okay, so I think we are good on time to, oh, okay. So that was our last activity and kind of last like topic. And today, just to kind of summarize, we discussed things like common misconceptions about majors, careers, and just uncertainty in general. And if you walk away with just one thing from today's workshop, I would want that to be I would like you to know, wait, what? I'd like you to keep in mind that while you should be actively exploring your interests and passions right now, it's totally okay and normal to not be completely sure about what you want to do in the future. And it's also okay to change your mind as many times as you need to before finding exactly what makes you happy. But still, I encourage you all to continue doing the activities that we had started today, like browsing the Princeton Review's major search tool, expanding on your back sheet, and things like watching a day in the life video. And lastly, remember that you can always set up a one-on-one meeting with me to discuss any workshop content or for any personal advice that you would like me to give. And I think I could probably put in my email as well because I know a few students trickled in later. That is my, oh, I sent that to just one person. That is my email. Feel free to reach out to me. I would be so down to set up a meeting with you and to give any personal advice or answer any of your questions. Okay, and now we have a feedback form. So your feedback really does help us. This is actually a new workshop topic that students had let us know in previous years that they wanted to for us to have. So we definitely want to learn what is helpful and what is not to you guys. So definitely fill out this feedback form, and that would very much help us in this whole process. And in the remaining time that we have, I think is around 10-12 minutes. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them now. And if not, you are definitely free to go. Thank you all so much for coming. And I will be sticking around for the next 12 minutes to answer any of your questions.